A mom's love for her sick kid is the strongest thing ever. When there's no hope left, she'd even face the scariest guy if it meant saving her child. Sarah Mitchell has to make this tough choice in the Colorado mountains in 1882. Her son is super sick with a fever, and the only medicine that can help is with Caleb Stone, a scary mountain man who lives all alone. People say he's mean and cold. Sarah doesn't care. She offers to stay a month, cooking and cleaning, to get his help. What she doesn't know is Caleb has secretly liked her for 2 years. Now they have 30 days together, and their hearts might change forever. But will it be enough to save her son? Before we go on, tell us where you're reading from. And if you like this story, stick around because tomorrow I've got something super cool for you. The wooden horse was forgotten next to Tommy's sickbed. Its paint was chipped from 2 years of fun play. Sarah Mitchell made it herself with her husband's old knife, back when she wasn't scared, and her son's giggles filled their tiny cabin in Pine Ridge. Now she brushed sweaty hair from Tommy's hot forehead, wondering if she'd ever hear him laugh again. "Mama," Tommy whispered, his voice so soft you could barely hear it over the fall wind shaking their thin walls. "It hurts." Sarah's heart hurt bad. 3 weeks had passed since the fever started. 3 weeks of watching her 7-year-old get weaker. She tried every medicine she could buy, and Dr. Henderson tried his stuff and even bleeding, but nothing worked. The fever burned through Tommy like a wildfire, and every hour more of her sweet boy faded away. She sold her fancy wedding plates, her grandma's silver, even her mom's pearl earrings. The money went to medicines that didn't work and doctors who looked more worried each time. Now winter was coming to the Colorado mountains, bringing cold and loneliness, and Sarah had nothing left to sell except her clothes. Nothing except one crazy idea: Caleb Stone. Just thinking his name made her tummy twist with worry. The mountain man lived alone way up in the hills, far from Pine Ridge, in a cabin nobody dared visit. Stories about him changed every time, but everyone agreed he was dangerous. Some said he was a soldier who saw too much fighting and left people behind. Others whispered he killed someone in Denver and ran to hide. Everyone said he was cruel, cold like winter rocks, hard like the mountains he lived in. A guy who didn't care about women, kids, or anything soft. But Sarah heard something else, something the town ladies wouldn't talk about openly. Caleb Stone knew how to heal. He had medicines that worked when others didn't, learned from his Cherokee family. Twice last year, desperate people went to his cabin. Both times, they came back with cures that saved lives. The problem was the price. Nobody said what Caleb wanted for his help, but the scared look in Mary Thompson's eyes after her husband got better told its own story. Whatever Caleb asked, it wasn't something nice people talked about. Sarah looked at Tommy's red face and decided being proper wasn't something she could afford anymore. The trip to Caleb's cabin took almost a whole day, walking with Tommy wrapped in blankets in her arms. The path went through trees, climbing higher into the thin air. Sarah's legs hurt, her back ached, but she kept going. Every weak breath from Tommy pushed her forward. By afternoon, the trees got thinner, showing rocky hills and early snow. The air was cold and sharp, so different from the stuffy sick room they left. Sarah stopped to rest and shift Tommy's weight. That's when she saw it. Caleb Stone's cabin sat on a flat spot against a big cliff. It was bigger than she thought, made of huge logs that showed a guy who knew the mountain's tough ways. Smoke came from the chimney, and warm light glowed from the windows, making it look almost nice in the evening light. Almost. Sarah almost lost her nerve. Stories of Caleb's meanness filled her head, warnings from Pine Ridge ladies. But Tommy moved weakly in her arms, his fever so hot she felt it through the blankets. She had no choice. The path to the cabin door felt forever, each step loud in the quiet mountains. Sarah's heart pounded as she climbed the porch steps. The door was strong oak, worn by weather, with a heavy wolf's head knocker. She lifted her hand to knock, then paused. Once she did this, there was no turning back. Whatever Caleb wanted, she'd have to give it. Her good name, her future, her life, all worth less than her sick son. Sarah knocked. The sound echoed inside, followed by heavy steps. The door opened and Sarah faced the scariest man in Colorado. Caleb Stone wasn't what she expected. Sure, he was big, tall, and strong, with the easy power of someone who lived by his hands. His dark hair had some gray, and his eyes had lines from squinting into the sun and wind. But his face wasn't mean. It was careful, like he didn't trust anyone, and his eyes, oh my gosh, his eyes were kind. Mrs. Mitchell, he said in a deep, calm voice, a little surprised. What brings you to my mountain? Sarah stared, shocked. He knew her name. How? My son, she said, lifting Tommy a bit. He's dying. I don't know where else to go. Something flashed on Caleb's face. Maybe pain or understanding. He looked at Tommy and his jaw got tight. How long's he been sick? 3 weeks. The fever won't stop. Sarah's voice broke. Dr. Henderson tried everything. I've tried everything. Please, I know you have medicine that works. I'll do anything. Pay anything. Come inside, Caleb said, stepping back to open the door. The night air's bad for him. Sarah paused at the door. Once she went in, she'd be stuck with this man alone on his mountain with no one to hear her yell. But Tommy's breathing was so weak, his body so hot. She stepped inside. The cabin was another surprise. The main room was big and cozy with a warm fireplace. Handmade furniture showed someone who took time and care, and books on shelves hinted at a smart mind. It was clean, neat, and peaceful, not what she expected from a scary mountain man's home. Caleb shut the door and pointed to a soft chair by the fire. Sit, let me check him. Sarah sat, holding Tommy close. Caleb went to a back room and came back with a leather bag. He knelt by her chair, moving carefully. Can I? He asked, reaching for Tommy. Sarah nodded, too scared to talk. Caleb's big hands were gentle as he felt Tommy's forehead, checked his pulse, and listened to his breathing. He was thorough, like a real doctor, not rough like she feared. Lung fever, he said finally. Bad, but we can help if we move fast. He looked at her, serious. I have medicine to stop the fever and help his lungs, but he'll need care for days, maybe longer. I'll stay, Sarah said right away. As long as it takes. This isn't Pine Ridge, Mrs. Mitchell. People will talk. Your good name? My good name doesn't matter if my son dies, Sarah said fiercely. I'll pay whatever you want. Do whatever you ask. Just save him. Something changed in Caleb's eyes. Maybe surprise or something deeper. He looked at her for a long time before nodding. 1 month, he said quietly. You stay 1 month, help around here, and I'll take care of the boy till he's better. A month? 4 weeks alone with the scariest guy around. Sarah thought of the warnings, the creepy rumors, the price she might have to pay in the lonely mountain nights. She looked at Tommy's hot face and felt her heart break again. Yes, she whispered. 1 month. That first night, Sarah didn't sleep much. Caleb put them in a small bedroom off the main room with Tommy on a narrow bed by the window for fresh air. Tommy's short, painful breaths hurt Sarah's heart. Around midnight, his fever got worse. Sarah woke to find him burning hot, shaking with chills even though Caleb had a fire going in the room. Panic grabbed her as she saw Tommy's lips turn blue, his breathing so weak she had to lean close to feel it. Caleb! She screamed before thinking. Caleb, help me! Heavy steps came fast, and the door flew open. Caleb stood there in his nightshirt and pants, hair messy but eyes wide awake. He looked at Tommy and rushed to the bed. How long's he been like this? His hands checked Tommy's pulse, breathing, and nails. I just woke up. He's shaking so bad. Sarah's voice broke. Is he dying? Oh no, is my baby dying? Caleb's jaw tightened as he listened to Tommy's chest. His lungs are filling. We gotta act now. He stood and headed for the door. Stay with him. Keep him sitting up if you can. Sarah held Tommy close, his hot body against her chest, as Caleb went to the main room. She heard bottles clinking and water pouring. Tommy's breathing got worse and tears ran down her face. Please, she whispered to anyone listening. Don't take him. Not my baby. Not now. Caleb came back with a worn leather pouch that smelled like herbs, rain, and cedar smoke. This was my grandma's, he said quietly, sitting by the bed. She was Cherokee. Taught me the old ways before the army took her people west. Sarah watched as he opened the pouch carefully. Inside were little pockets with herbs, roots, and powders. His hands moved fast, picking bits of this and that, mixing them in a bowl. She said healing's not just medicine, Caleb said, his voice calm. It's about wanting to help, putting your heart into it with the herbs. He added hot water, stirring until it was a thin paste. The smell was strong, wild like the mountains. This'll stop the fever and open his lungs, Caleb said, looking at her. But you gotta trust me. Some of this might look scary. Sarah saw Tommy's blue lips and nodded. Do what you need to. Caleb rubbed the paste on Tommy's chest, gentle circles on his skin. Tommy's breathing got a little better, and his forehead cooled a bit. Then Caleb took a clay pipe, packed it with dried leaves, and lit it with a coal from the fire. He blew sweet-smelling smoke over Tommy's face and chest. Tommy coughed weakly but breathed deeper. "The smoke helps clear his lungs," Caleb said. Sarah watched, amazed as color came back to Tommy's face. The scary rattle in his chest got quieter, and his breathing got steadier. After what felt like forever but was probably minutes, Tommy's eyes opened. "Mama," he whispered, the best sound Sarah ever heard. "I'm here, baby," she said, smoothing his hair. "I'm right here." Tommy looked at Caleb, who was packing away the pouch. "Who's that?" "This is Mr. Stone," Sarah said softly. "He's helping you get better." Tommy stared at Caleb with big, serious eyes. "Are you a doctor?" Caleb's face softened, making him look different. "Kinda, son. How you feeling?" "Better," Tommy said weakly, giving a small smile. The bad dreams stopped. "Good," Caleb said, standing. "Rest now. Drink water and sleep lots." "Mr. Stone," Tommy called softly. Caleb stopped in the doorway. "Yes? Thank you." For a second, Sarah saw something soft and open on Caleb's face, like the real him peeked out. Then he nodded and left, leaving Sarah with Tommy. She held her son as he slept, his breathing calm now. The night had shaken her, but it also showed her something. The guy who saved Tommy wasn't the mean mountain man from stories. Caleb was gentle, smart, and when he looked at Tommy with care, Sarah's heart did a funny skip, not from fear. The next morning, Tommy woke hungry for the first time in weeks. Sarah found Caleb in the kitchen, stirring a pot that smelled amazing. He looked up, his face blank. "How's he doing?" "Much better," Sarah said, sitting at the table, suddenly aware she must look messy after the long night. "I don't know how to thank you." "No need," Caleb said, scooping soup into bowls. "He's got a good recovery ahead, but the worst is over." Sarah took a bowl, smelling herbs and veggies. "This smells great. I didn't know you could cook." A tiny smile crossed his face. "A guy's got to eat up here or he starves." The soup was yummy, better than anything Sarah made. As they ate quietly, she kept sneaking looks at Caleb. Everything about him was different from Pine Ridge stories. His house was clean and cozy. He was gentle with Tommy, and the way he worked all night to save a stranger's kid showed he cared a lot. "Mr. Stone," she started carefully, "what people say about you in town, it's mostly true," he said flatly. "I'm not a good guy, Mrs. Mitchell. Don't think kindness means something it doesn't." But Sarah saw his face when Tommy thanked him, saw his hands shake a bit, packing the pouch. Whatever bad stuff was in his past, it didn't touch who he really was. "I think you're wrong," she said quietly. Caleb's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. His eyes met hers, and for a second, his guard dropped. Then Tommy called for water, and the moment was gone. But as Sarah went to her son, she caught Caleb looking at her like she was something special, something he'd thought about forever. It should have scared her, but it made her feel warm like hot tea. For the first time, Sarah wondered if the stories about the mean mountain man were wrong about more than his healing. Maybe they were wrong about his heart, too. The first week was careful, like they were all learning how to act. Sarah woke early, before the sun, slipping out of the bedroom where Tommy was getting better. Caleb was always up, making a fire or cooking breakfast, moving like someone used to being alone. They talked politely, but not much. Caleb checked Tommy like a doctor, and Sarah kept busy cleaning a house that was already clean, or cooking in a kitchen that worked fine without her. But slowly, the cabin started to feel different. Sarah's wedding ring caught the light as she worked. She'd worn it every day since James died 3 years ago, a reminder of their love and family. But lately she twisted it when nervous, like it was heavy. That morning, kneading dough at Caleb's table, she thought about something wild. Selling the ring could pay Caleb for Tommy's medicine, maybe even buy winter supplies. James would have wanted her to do anything for Tommy, but taking it off felt like letting go of more than James. It felt like her old life was really gone. "You don't have to do that," Caleb said from the doorway, watching her hands. Sarah realized she'd been staring at her ring. "Do what?" "Work so hard to pay your way," he said, pouring coffee carefully. The boy needed help. "That's enough. We agreed on a month," Sarah said, kneading harder. "I'll keep my promise." "Sarah," her name on his lips made her stop. He'd always called her Mrs. Mitchell, keeping things proper. Her name felt close, warm. "You've made this place feel like a home in just a week," he said, voice flat. "It hasn't felt like that since—" He stopped, like he said too much. "Since when?" Sarah asked, turning to him. but Caleb was closed off again. "I gotta check the traps. You okay here with Tommy?" Sarah nodded, watching him grab his coat and rifle and leave. Through the window, she saw him walk across the clearing like he belonged to the mountains. What had he meant? Since when hadn't the cabin been a home? "Mama?" Tommy called, pulling her from her thoughts. She found him sitting up in bed, his cheeks pink for the first time in weeks. Caleb's medicines worked fast, almost like magic. But it wasn't just the herbs helping Tommy. It was the mountain air, the quiet, and Caleb's kind attention. "How you feeling, sweetie?" "Way better." "Can I get up today?" Tommy asked. "Mr. Stone said maybe I could help with his wood carving." Sarah smoothed his hair. "Wood carving? He makes pretty things, huh?" "Yeah, he showed me a bird he carved." "It looked so real I thought it'd fly away," Tommy said, eyes bright. "He said he'd teach me if I'm strong enough." His excitement warmed her heart, but also worried her. Tommy was starting to like Caleb, maybe seeing him like a dad. What would happen when their month was up? "That sounds fun," she said carefully. "But we're just visiting, remember? We have our own home." Tommy's face fell. "I know, but do we have to go back?" "I like it here, and Mr. Stone seems lonely." Sarah had noticed it too, the way Caleb moved like he didn't need anyone, but his face lit up when Tommy asked questions or when he taught him about animal tracks. "Mr. Stone chose to live alone," she said gently. "That's his choice. What if he's alone because nobody asked him not to be?" Tommy's question hit her hard. What if Caleb's loneliness wasn't what he wanted, but a way to protect himself from getting hurt? She was still thinking about it when Caleb came back from checking traps, looking upset, pacing like a trapped animal before sitting at his workbench. Sarah watched him carve wood, his hands moving like he already saw the finished piece. "What are you making?" she asked, stepping closer. "A horse for the boy," Caleb said, not looking up. Sarah's heart squeezed. He was making a new horse for Tommy, like the one they left behind. The kindness of it made her teary. "That's really nice," she said. Caleb shrugged. "Boys need toys." But she saw how careful he was, making every detail perfect. This wasn't just a toy. It was special, like how he saved Tommy. Watching him, Sarah noticed things about Caleb. He was different from James. James was fair, small, and chatty. Caleb was dark, strong, and quiet. But his careful hands reminded her of being loved. The thought surprised her. She wasn't supposed to think of any man like that, especially not Caleb. She was a widow, still sad for James. This was just gratitude, right? But at dinner, she kept looking at Caleb's face in the firelight. His strong jaw, smart eyes, and the way he softened when he looked at Tommy. Sometimes she caught him looking at her, their eyes meeting, making her breath catch. Then one of them looked away, and the fire's crackle and Tommy's chatter filled the quiet. That night, as Sarah tucked Tommy in, he asked, "Mama, is Mr. Stone lonely?" Sarah glanced at Caleb reading by the fire. "I think he chose his life, sweetie, but maybe he doesn't like it." Tommy's voice was sleepy but thoughtful. "Sometimes people choose stuff because they think they have to, not because they want to." Her 7-year-old saw something she missed. As Sarah lay in bed, she thought about choices. One's forced by life and one's made from fear. From the main room, she heard Caleb putting out the fire. The cabin went dark, but Sarah stayed awake, listening to the wind and thinking about lonely men and the women who might stay. The second week brought snow, covering the mountain in sparkly white like a fairy tale. Sarah woke to Tommy at the window, eyes wide. "Mama, look! It's like a magic land!" Sarah joined him, amazed at how snow made everything look like a storybook. In the main room, Caleb was up, making the fire and getting ready. They found him at the table with a journal, which he closed fast when they came in. "Morning," he said, pouring coffee. "Storm will pass by noon. Good day to stay inside." Tommy was doing great, all bright and full of energy, wanting to explore. Sarah let him go outside a bit, always with Caleb watching. "Can I help you today, Mr. Stone?" Tommy asked. "Mama says I'm strong enough for easy jobs." Caleb looked at Sarah, who nodded. "Well," he said slowly, "you could help sort old traps, and maybe I'll show you how to read tracks in the snow." Tommy's face glowed like it was Christmas. That morning, Sarah had free time. The cabin was clean, bread was baking, and dinner could wait. She wandered the main room, noticing details she'd missed. The furniture was handmade, careful like everything Caleb did. Books filled shelves. Not just useful ones, but poetry and stories showing a smart, thoughtful guy. On the fireplace was a row of carved animals, each one amazing. Sarah picked up a tiny owl, feeling its feather details. "Those were my first tries," Caleb said from the doorway, Tommy beside him with traps. "They're beautiful," Sarah said, meaning it. "You're really talented." "Grandma said idle hands make idle minds," Caleb said, setting up tools. "Carving kept me sane in long winters." "How long you lived here?" 5 years, Caleb said, pausing. "Since I left the army." It was the most personal thing he'd shared. Sarah wanted to ask about the army, why he hid away, but his face said to be careful. Instead, she sat near his workbench, watching him teach Tommy to carve. Caleb was so patient, showing Tommy how to hold the knife, follow the wood's grain, and listen to what the wood wanted to be. As the storm got worse outside, the cabin stayed warm and calm. Sarah felt relaxed, like she hadn't since James died. The cozy scene, 3 of them together, snow falling outside, felt so nice. At noon, while Tommy napped and Caleb checked animals, Sarah found something big. Looking for a book, she saw Caleb's journal behind the desk. When she picked it up, it opened to a page with her name. She knew she shouldn't read it, but her name was everywhere, and she couldn't stop. "Sarah Mitchell came to town today with the boy." She looked tired, worried. "Mrs. Henderson said doctor bills are piling up. Wish I could help, but she'd never take it from me." Watched her from the store window. "She has the prettiest smile when she thinks nobody's looking." It was from 3 months ago. Sarah flipped back, finding more about her and Tommy, small notes, worries about her struggles, details of moments she barely remembered. Saw Sarah at the church picnic. She wore the blue dress that matches her eyes. Tommy spilled lemonade, and she laughed, the sound carrying across the yard. I stayed hidden, watching. The notes went back 2 years to just after James's funeral. Caleb had noticed her, cared about her in ways she never knew. The last note, from before she came to the mountain, made her hands shake. "She'll come to me soon. I see her desperation, how she looks at Tommy when she thinks he's not watching. She's out of options, and I'm the only one who can help. I've waited 2 years for her to need me. God forgive me, I've hoped for it." Sarah sat, journal trembling. Everything she thought was wrong. Caleb didn't help Tommy out of kindness to a stranger. He'd loved her for 2 years, watching, waiting for her to need him. The door opened, and Caleb came in, shaking off snow. He saw her face and froze. "You read it?" Sarah nodded, speechless. Caleb took the journal gently. "Guess you have questions." 2 years, she whispered. "Since the funeral." Caleb's face was tight. "I know it looks bad." "You've been watching me. Watching over you," he corrected, eyes bold but soft. "You think I don't know what the town says? That I'm dangerous? Nobody'd believe a guy like me could care about someone like you." Sarah's head spun. "The stories about you being mean, they keep people away. They keep me from explaining why I live alone," Caleb said, staring at the fire. "But it meant I couldn't talk to you, court you proper. So you waited for me to come." "I waited for you to need me," he said honestly. "I hated hoping for it." Sarah thought about the times she felt watched, protected, gifts left at her door, firewood, meat, medicines for Tommy. She thought they were from the church. Now she wondered. "The gifts," she said slowly. "The firewood after the blizzard, the deer meat when I couldn't buy food." "I know every family in Pine Ridge," Caleb said quietly. "I know who needs help and who's too proud to ask. Your husband was a good man. He didn't deserve to die young. You didn't deserve to struggle alone." Tommy called for water. Sarah went to him, her mind racing. When she came back, Caleb stood by the fire, tense. "Are you mad?" he asked. Sarah thought. She should be mad at the secret, the waiting. But she kept seeing his gentle hands saving Tommy, his kindness. "I don't know what I am," she said honestly. Caleb turned, and she saw pain in his eyes. "I didn't want you to find out like this. I hoped maybe this month you'd like me a little, maybe want to stay. If not, you'd go back and I'd watch from afar with these weeks to remember." His honesty broke her heart. This tough guy had loved her quietly for 2 years, protecting her and Tommy, asking for nothing. "Caleb," she started, but Tommy came in. "Mr. Stone, you okay? You look sad." Caleb's face softened. "I'm fine, son. Just thinking." Tommy looked at them. "Are you and Mama fighting?" "Not fighting," Sarah said carefully. "Just talking grown-up stuff." "Oh." Tommy seemed okay with that. "Can we work on the horse?" As Caleb helped Tommy carve, Sarah watched them. Her son never knew his dad, who died when Tommy was 5, but Caleb could teach him, guide him, love him like a dad. Could she love the man who'd loved her all along? The third week felt like family life, too cozy to be safe. Sarah woke to Caleb making coffee, Tommy chattering about his day. They ate breakfast together, talking easily, then did their tasks. While tidying Caleb's books, Sarah found a pressed wildflower in a poetry book. It was a purple mountain aster, still colorful despite being dried. She knew that flower. She'd picked it last fall on a walk with Tommy. She'd tucked it in her hair, feeling happy for a moment. Caleb had kept it, treasured it in his favorite book. It warmed her heart. "Find something cool?" Caleb asked, standing in the doorway. Sarah held up the flower, seeing him blush. "I remember this," she said softly. "From last fall. You dropped it chasing Tommy," Caleb said quietly. "It was too pretty to leave." His words made her heart skip. "You've been keeping bits of my life. Not keeping, treasuring," he said, moving closer. "A lonely guy on a mountain, sometimes a flower or a glimpse of you keeps him going." Sarah saw his softness. "What else you got?" Caleb hesitated, then opened a small box. Inside was a ribbon from her hair, a button from her coat, a sketch of her and Tommy. "I know it's weird," he said, thinking she was mad. "It's romantic," Sarah said, surprising them both. "Super romantic." Hope lit Caleb's eyes. A loud knock at the door stopped him. They froze. Nobody came here, especially in winter. Caleb peeked out, his face hard. "It's 5 guys from town." Sarah's blood froze. "What do they want?" "I can guess," Caleb said, angry. "Stay with Tommy. Don't come out." But Sarah moved to the door. "This is about me being here, right? My reputation." "Sarah, please." "No." She stood tall. "I won't hide while men decide my life." The knock came again, louder. Caleb gave her a warning look, then opened the door. 5 men stood there looking mad. Reverend Phillips, Mayor Dawson, Sheriff Coleman, and 2 businessmen. They were here for one thing. "Gentlemen," Caleb said calmly, "why are you here in this weather?" Reverend Phillips stepped up, face sour. "You know why, Stone. Everyone's talking about Mrs. Mitchell." "What about her?" Caleb asked, voice low. "Don't act dumb," Mayor Dawson said. "A good widow living with a single guy? It's wrong. Think of the kids." Sarah stepped out. "Gentlemen, I'm surprised you came all this way to talk about where I live." Sheriff Coleman took off his hat, looking sorry but firm. "Mrs. Mitchell, we're worried about you and your good name. This ain't proper." "My son was dying," Sarah said flatly. "Mr. Stone saved him." "I'm working to pay him back. There are better ways to say thanks," Reverend Phillips said sternly. "Ways that don't ruin you." Sarah got mad. "Where was your help when I was struggling to pay Tommy's doctor bills? When I sold everything to buy food?" "Now hold on," Mayor Dawson started. "No, you hold on," Sarah said, voice strong. "Mr. Stone's been kind to me and my son more than any of you. He's never made me feel bad or unwelcome. If my good name's ruined because I saved my son, maybe the problem's your gossip, not my choices." Caleb stood behind her, strong and quiet, giving her courage. "This can't go on," Reverend Phillips said. "We're here to take you back to town for proper arrangements." "What arrangements?" Sarah asked. "Mr. Henderson'll take you as a housekeeper," Sheriff Coleman said. "Respectable work, a roof over your head." Sarah's heart sank. Mr. Henderson was old, mean, and cheap. Working for him was like being a servant. "If I say no?" The men looked at each other. "Mrs. Mitchell," Reverend Phillips said carefully, "the church will have to punish you. No church, no community events. Think of your son's future." The threat hit hard. In Pine Ridge, being shunned meant being alone. Tommy would grow up marked, with no friends or chances. "You jerks," Caleb said quietly, but so angry the men stepped back. Sarah had never heard him curse, and his protective anger gave her chills. "What did you say?" Mayor Dawson asked. "I said, you're jerks," Caleb repeated, standing by Sarah. "Coming here with threats, using a kid to get your way. You threatening us?" Sheriff Coleman's hand went to his gun. Caleb smiled, not nicely. "I'm saying Mrs. Mitchell and her son are under my protection. Anyone who wants to hurt them deals with me first." The silence was tense. Sarah felt Caleb's readiness, like a wolf pushed too far. For the first time, she saw the dangerous guy from stories. "This ain't over," Reverend Phillips said. "The church won't let this slide." "Then maybe the church should check its own morals," Sarah said quietly. "A religion that punishes kindness ain't worth following." Her words shocked the men. They expected her to give in. Instead, she stood with Caleb. "1 week," Mayor Dawson said. 1 week to come back or we'll do worse. What worse? Caleb asked softly, but the men turned away, not answering, and rode off. I'm sorry, Sarah said when they were gone. I brought trouble to you. You brought light to this mountain, Caleb said. Don't apologize for their small minds. Tommy came to the door, having heard it all. Mama, are we in trouble? Sarah hugged him. No, sweetie. We're right where we need to be. But she felt trapped. The town wanted her to obey or lose everything. She had 1 week to choose between Tommy's future and her happiness. As they went inside, Sarah saw Caleb's sad face. He knew her choice was already made. She couldn't ruin Tommy's life for her own wants. The pressed flower in her hand felt like a sad reminder of something fading. The 4th week started heavy, like fog over the cabin. Sarah did her chores, but her heart wasn't in it. The town's threat loomed like a storm. Caleb got quieter, staring at the fire, holding his dad's old pocket watch. The gold watch was worn, with faded words like time and love. It was my dad's gift to my mom, Caleb said one night, seeing her look. He said time was the best thing he could give her, all his days with her. Sarah looked up from sewing. What happened to them? Cholera, Caleb said. When I was 16, they died hours apart. Dad went first. Mom held this watch and said she'd follow him. She died that night. I'm sorry, Sarah said softly. That must have been awful. It was, but kind of beautiful too, Caleb said, looking at her. They loved each other so much, they couldn't live without the other. I used to think that love made you weak. Now I know it's what makes life worth living. His words felt heavy. They both knew their time was almost up. Tommy was quiet too, sensing the worry, focusing on his wooden horse. It's almost done, he said one afternoon, showing it off. With Caleb's help, the rough wood was now a beautiful horse, perfect and lifelike. It's awesome, Sarah said, impressed. You're talented, sweetie. Mr. Stone did the hard parts, Tommy said. But he says I've got good hands. Maybe I can be a carver when I grow up. Sarah's heart hurt. In Pine Ridge, Tommy would have to do proper jobs like farming, not art. Maybe, she said carefully. We'll see what's possible. Tommy heard her doubt. We're going back, aren't we? Sarah looked at Caleb, who looked away. Yes, sweetie. Our month's almost done. But I don't want to go, Tommy said. I like it here, and Mr. Stone needs us. Mr. Stone was fine before us, Sarah said gently. He'll be fine after. Will he? Tommy turned to Caleb. Will you be okay when we're gone? Caleb stopped carving, quiet for a long time. I'll miss you both a lot, son, he said, voice rough. But your mama's right. You've got your own lives. What if we don't want to live without you? Tommy's question echoed in Sarah's heart. That night, after Tommy slept, Sarah and Caleb sat by the fire, silent with longing and sadness. Sarah, Caleb said finally, I need you to know something. If I was different, with a better reputation, I'd ask you to stay, not as a helper, but as my wife. Sarah's hands shook, putting down her sewing. Caleb, I know it's impossible, he said. I know what staying would cost you and Tommy, but these weeks with you, they've been the happiest of my life. I felt like I had a family. Tears filled Sarah's eyes. Does it have to be impossible? Caleb's smile was sad. You heard those men. If you stay, Tommy'll be marked forever. Is that what you want? Her heart broke because he was right. Staying would ruin Tommy's future. No, she whispered. They sat quietly, watching the fire die, memorizing every moment. In 3 days, it'd all be a memory. The next morning, a new visitor came, not the kind they feared. A well-dressed young man stood at the door. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm Robert Fairfield from Pine Ridge. Sarah's heart sank. Robert had liked her before James died and kept trying after. She'd said no, but he didn't listen. Mr. Fairfield, she said coldly, this is a surprise. When I heard about your situation, I had to help, he said, glancing at Caleb. This setup isn't okay for a lady like you. My situation? Sarah asked, mad. Come on, Sarah, he said, smiling. You're a smart woman from a good family. This can be forgiven, but only if you stop now. I'm offering marriage to fix your reputation and give Tommy a home. How kind, Sarah said flatly. I think so, Robert said. I'll overlook this mistake. We can marry soon and nobody'll mention this again. Sarah felt Caleb tense behind her. Mr. Fairfield, she said carefully. Thanks, but I don't want to marry you. Robert's smile faded. What? I said no, Sarah said, feeling Caleb's support. I don't need your protection, Caleb said quietly. She has mine, Robert got mad. What are you offering her, Stone? Marriage? Respectability? Or just shame with no security? Sarah held her breath, waiting for Caleb's answer, an answer that would change everything. Robert's words hung in the air like a dare. Sarah's heart pounded, waiting for Caleb. But Tommy ran in, holding something. "Mama, I found these in Mr. Stone's desk," he said. "I was getting paper to draw, but these letters have your name." Sarah's world spun. Tommy held a bundle of letters tied with a blue ribbon, all addressed to her in Caleb's writing. They looked worn, like they'd been held a lot. "Tommy, you shouldn't—" Sarah started, but Caleb stopped her. "It's okay," he said, pale but calm. "She can see them." Robert stepped closer, curious. "What letters?" Sarah took the bundle, hands shaking. The top letter said, "Mrs. Sarah Mitchell," with no postmark. They were never sent. "Go ahead," Caleb said softly. "Read them." Sarah opened the first letter from 3 days after James's funeral. "My dear Sarah, I was at the service, in the back so you wouldn't see. I wanted to say I'm sorry, but my reputation would make things worse. No, I'm thinking of you. If you need anything, just ask, though I know you won't. You're too proud, too strong, too good for a guy like me. So I'll watch from far, hoping I can help someday. Your friend, Caleb Stone." Her hands shook as she read the next from a month later. "Dear Sarah, I saw you in town, struggling with packages while Tommy played. You looked so tired. I wanted to help, but I'd make it worse. I left firewood at your door after dark. I hope you think it's from a neighbor, not me. I dream of helping you openly, seeing you smile. Until then, I'm your secret helper. All my love, Caleb." "Sarah," Robert said sharply, "you're not reading love letters from this guy in front of your kid." "Be quiet," Sarah said, not looking up, her voice strong. She read more, finding 2 years of Caleb's love, notes about her life, his pain watching her struggle, his hope she'd notice him. November 15th, 1881. Sarah smiled at a baby today. It broke my heart. She should have more kids, a house full of love. I'd give her that if I could, but I'm a fool to dream. March 3rd, 1882. Tommy fell from a tree. Sarah was so scared. I watched, ready to help if he was hurt. I'd have faced the town for her. August 20th, 1882. The drought ruined Sarah's garden. She was counting coins at the store. "Tonight I'll leave veggies at her door. She'll think it's charity, but they'll eat." Tears fell as Sarah read. Caleb had loved her for 2 years, helping from afar, wanting nothing but to care for her. The last letter from a week before she came shook her. "My beloved Sarah, you'll never read this, but I had to write. Tommy's sick again, and I see your desperation. You're out of hope. Part of me hopes you'll come to me for help. It's wrong to want that, but if it brings you here, if I can save Tommy and show you I'm worth it, I'll take the guilt. I've loved you for 2 years from far. Maybe you could love me back. Forever yours, Caleb Stone." Sarah lowered the letter, tears blurring her eyes. Caleb hadn't helped out of kindness. He'd loved her for 2 years. "You wrote to me for 2 years," she whispered. "I wrote to the woman I loved," Caleb said softly. "Even if she didn't know me." "But I did know," Sarah said, looking at him. "I always felt watched, safe. I'd look at these mountains and feel not alone. I thought I was imagining it." "You weren't," Caleb said, voice rough. "Every day for 2 years I thought of you, worried, loved you, because I didn't think you'd care for a guy like me." Robert was mad. "This is crazy, Sarah. This guy's obsession is dangerous." "The only thing dangerous is you thinking you can speak for me," Sarah said sharply. She turned to Caleb, hope growing. 2 years? You've loved me that long?" "Longer," Caleb said, stepping closer. "I fell for you the first time I saw you in town laughing with Tommy in a yellow dress. Your hair glowed in the sun. I thought it was just a crush, but it grew deeper. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I know who I am," Caleb said, hands clenched. "You deserve better than a beat-up soldier with a bad past." "What if I don't care about your past? What if I only care about the guy who saved my son and loved me for 2 years? Hope lit Caleb's eyes. "Sarah," Robert stepped between them, furious. "This is enough. Sarah, come back to town with me. I'm offering marriage, a good life for Tommy." Sarah looked at Robert, handsome, rich, everything a smart woman should want. But his eyes were cold, like he was making a deal, not love. Then she looked at Caleb, seeing the kind soul beneath. "You're right," she said to Robert. "You offer security." He smiled, thinking he won. "So you'll come?" "No," Sarah said, moving to Caleb. "Mr. Stone offers something better." "What's that?" Robert sneered. Sarah smiled, her heart whole again. "He's offering me love." The word love felt like a wish finally said out loud. Caleb's face lit up, hope and shock mixing. Robert kept complaining, but it didn't matter. Only Caleb did. Sarah, Caleb said softly, her name sweet. You sure? Once you choose this, the town won't accept us. Sarah pulled out her mom's silver locket with pictures of her grandma, mom, and herself. My mom said love's the only thing that matters and I shouldn't be scared to choose it. She married my dad, a poor farmer, against her family's wishes. They were happy for 30 years, even when people judged her. What happened to them? Caleb asked. Influenza got them when I was 19, Sarah said. But Mom made me promise to never settle for less than real love. She closed the locket. I loved James, but it was safe love. This with you is what Mom meant? Robert exploded. This is nuts, Sarah. You're throwing away your future for a criminal? Criminal? Sarah turned mad. What are you talking about? He didn't tell you, Robert said, smirking. Your hero's a wanted man. Sarah looked at Caleb, hoping it wasn't true, but his face was tired. It's true, he said. I killed a man in Denver. That's why I'm here. Sarah felt hit. You killed someone? A guy was beating a woman to death in an alley, Caleb said calmly. Nobody helped. I stopped him. He pulled a gun. I was faster. So you saved her? Sarah asked. The law didn't think so, Caleb said. The guy was a judge's son. I'm half Cherokee, no money, no lawyer. I'd never get a fair trial, so I ran. See? Robert said. He's a fugitive. Sarah looked at Caleb's pained eyes. What happened to her? She lived, had 3 kids, a good life, Caleb said. I don't regret it, Sarah, but it's cost me. Sarah stepped closer. You saved her. That doesn't make you a criminal to me. Sarah, be smart, Robert said. I'm being smart, she snapped. What's wrong is a system that protects bad guys and punishes good ones. A town that judges love over gossip. Tommy, who'd been quiet, stepped up. Mr. Stone's not bad, he said firmly. Bad guys don't save kids, teach carving, or read stories. Bad guys don't cry when they think nobody sees, scared the people they love will leave. Sarah's heart hurt. He cried? Tommy nodded. Last night I heard him by the fire saying he'd miss our laughs, miss feeling like a family. Caleb looked pale, his walls down. Tommy, it's true, isn't it? Tommy took Caleb's hand. You love us, we love you. That's family. Families stay together. Sometimes they can't, Caleb said softly. Sometimes love isn't enough. What problems? Tommy looked around. We have food, warmth, each other. What else matters? Sarah looked at her wise son. You're right, she said. She turned to Robert. Mr. Fairfield, thanks, but no. I'm not going back. Tommy's future's fine here with the man we love. If Pine Ridge can't accept that, maybe they're not as good as they think. This is crazy, Robert yelled. Enough, Caleb said, voice sharp. You've said your piece. Get off my land. Robert stormed out, slamming the door. Sarah, Caleb, and Tommy stood together, bound by their choice. You sure? Caleb asked. Really sure? They might send the marshal? Sarah looked at the mountains, now home. My mom's locket means courage, choosing love over safety. This is my moment. I choose love. Caleb's smile was like sunrise. Sarah, one thing first. If we're building a life, no secrets. My past, my fears all out. Agreed, Sarah said, grinning. My past's messy, too. A broke widow with a sick kid about to be shunned for loving a wanted man. We're a wild pair, huh? The best kind, Tommy said, holding Caleb's hand. Snow fell, giving them time to plan before trouble came back. We should get ready, Caleb said. Robert'll reach town tomorrow. They'll send someone big, maybe the marshal. Sarah nodded, scared but excited. What do we do? First, we make this real, Caleb said, getting a box with 2 old gold rings. My parents' rings. If you'll have me, we can marry tonight with Tommy as witness. Sarah's breath caught. Married tonight? It's the only way to protect you, Caleb said. If we're married, they can't force you back. Who'll do it? Sarah asked. Tommy grinned. I know the words. Reverend Phillips taught me for the Christmas play. Dearly beloved, we're here to join this man and woman. Sarah laughed. We need someone official, sweetie. Actually, Caleb said, in Colorado, if we say we're married with a witness, it's legal. The idea was so simple. No big ceremony. Just them choosing each other. Let's do it, Sarah said, sure. They got ready quietly. Sarah wore her blue dress from Caleb's letters. Caleb shaved neatly. Tommy picked wildflowers for the occasion. As the sun set, they stood by the fireplace. Caleb held the rings, nervous but sure. Sarah's voice was steady. I, Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, take you, Caleb Joshua Stone, to be my husband for better or worse, sick or healthy, rich or poor, forever. I, Caleb Joshua Stone, take you, Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, to be my wife, to love, protect, and care for always, Caleb said. They put on the rings, which fit perfectly. Tommy clapped. Kiss the bride. Caleb held Sarah's face gently, their kiss full of 2 years' longing and a lifetime's promise. Sarah cried, kissing her husband, feeling whole. Now we're a real family, Tommy said, grinning. Yes, Sarah said, looking at their cozy cabin. A real family. But they knew morning would bring trouble. The town wouldn't like their choice. As they ate dinner and told stories, Caleb took Sarah's hand. Whatever comes, we face it together. Together, Sarah agreed. Outside, snow fell, keeping them safe for now. Tomorrow would need courage, but tonight was for love. Morning came fast with the sound of horses, lots of them. Sarah woke in Caleb's arms, her new ring shining. The night was perfect, full of love and promises. But now, angry voices were coming. How many? She whispered. 12, maybe more, Caleb said, alert. They're serious. Sarah dressed fast as Caleb grabbed his rifle, a tool he didn't want to use but would to protect them. Tommy, she called. Tommy was awake, holding his carved horse, eyes scared but voice steady. Are they taking us away? They'll try, Caleb said, looking out the window. But they won't win. Sarah saw 15 armed men, led by Sheriff Coleman and Mayor Dawson with a territorial marshal. Is that the marshal? Caleb said grimly. Robert meant business. Tommy's walking stick, carved by Caleb, stood by the bed, a symbol of what they could lose. What do we do? Sarah asked, calm. Face them together, Caleb said. As a family. Sarah, if this goes bad, last night was the best of my life. No regrets. Don't talk like that, Sarah said fiercely. We're fighting. The horses were close, voices clear, words like immoral and arrest warrant. Caleb Stone, Sheriff Coleman yelled. Come out, hands up. We've got a warrant. Caleb checked his rifle, then set it down. Stay with Tommy, he told Sarah. No way, she said, moving to the door. We're together. They can't arrest me for marrying you. Sarah. No, she said, eyes fierce. They want to split our family. They'll have to go through me. Tommy stood with them, holding his horse. I'm coming too. Families stick together. Sarah's heart swelled with pride and fear. All right, Caleb said. Together. They walked out as one, facing the 15 armed men in a semicircle. The marshal, a lean man with cold eyes, spoke. Caleb Stone, I've got a warrant for your arrest for murder. Marshal, Caleb said calmly. You mean Denver, 5 years ago? Yes. You're a fugitive and your running's done. Sarah stepped up. Marshal, I'm Sarah Stone, Caleb's wife. Before you arrest him, you need to know some things. The marshal raised an eyebrow. Wife? When'd you get married? Last night by Colorado common law with witnesses, Sarah said, chin high. My husband's a good man who saved a woman. Justice starts with truth. Truth? Mayor Dawson shouted. You're living with a criminal shaming our town. Truth, Sarah shot back, is my husband saved my son when your town's charity didn't. Things got loud, tension rising. Sarah felt not fear, but anger. Hot, strong anger at the unfairness. You know what I think? She said, voice loud. You're all cowards. Cowards who'd ruin a good man instead of admitting your justice failed. Cowards who'd let a woman die then upset the powerful. Cowards who'd break a family over your dumb rules. Her words rang out. Caleb stood strong behind her, Tommy's hand in hers. The marshal raised a hand for quiet. Mrs. Stone, your loyalty's nice, but a man's dead and your husband did it. That's law. Let's talk law, Sarah said. Let's talk justice. The marshal studied her. What else you know, Mrs. Stone? Sarah took a deep breath. I know my husband saw a woman being beaten to death. He stepped in when nobody else did. The man he killed, Judge Harrison's son, was drunk and violent. The judge made sure Caleb wouldn't get a fair trial. Caleb ran because he's half Cherokee, with no money or lawyer, against a system that already judged him. Enough, Mayor Dawson yelled. Marshal, you letting her turn this into politics? The marshal silenced him. What else, Mrs. Stone? Sarah felt Caleb's surprise, but kept going. I know the woman Caleb saved has 3 kids and a good life. I know the judge's son beat other women and would have again. I know Caleb's carried guilt for 5 years, even though he did right. The marshal stepped closer. You know a lot about this, Mrs. Stone. I made it my business, Sarah said, pulling out papers. These are sworn statements from 3 witnesses to the beating, never called at the inquest. They say the judge's son was violent and would have killed her. She handed them over. Where'd you get these? The marshal asked, surprised. From Mary Catherine O'Brien, the woman herself in Denver. She's tried for 5 years to clear Caleb's name, but nobody listened to a poor Irish woman. The marshal read the papers, thoughtful. Sheriff Coleman got nervous. Marshal, he's still a fugitive. Maybe not, the marshal said. Mr. Stone, these papers change things. They look real, and you might have a case for appeal. Appeals cost money, Caleb said. Money we don't have, Sarah added, but we'll fight. The marshal tucked the papers away. Mr. Stone, I'm arresting you, but I'll recommend the governor review your case. No, Robert shouted, pushing forward. You can't take some woman's word over a judge. I'm looking at evidence, the marshal said. Something missed 5 years ago. This is crazy, Mayor Dawson said. We came to arrest a criminal. Your town cares more about order than justice, Sarah said, stepping closer to the men. Her rings shone, giving her strength. My husband's not a criminal. He risked everything to save a life. If that's dangerous to you, maybe your thinking's the problem. Silence fell, only wind and hoarse sounds. The men looked unsure, her words making them think. The marshal spoke. Mr. Stone, I have to take you in, but with this evidence, I'll recommend bail and a fast hearing. How long? Caleb asked. Weeks, maybe months, the marshal said. Sarah's heart broke. Just when they were a family, they'd be split apart. Tommy stepped up, holding his horse. Marshal, if you take Papa Caleb, what happens to Mama and me? The question hit hard. The men, fathers themselves, looked ashamed. Well, the marshal said, you'd go back to Pine Ridge. But Papa Caleb's family, Tommy said. Families stay together, right? Sarah saw shame on the men's faces. The boy's right, the marshal said. Mrs. Stone, you can stay with your husband in jail if you want. In jail? Sarah asked, voice small. Unless, the marshal paused. Mr. Stone, will you come to Pine Ridge under house arrest with your family? It was a trap. House arrest meant being watched, hated, alone. No, Sarah said, surprising everyone. That's not enough. The marshal frowned. Mrs. Stone, no, she said, holding Caleb's hand. We did nothing wrong but fall in love. If the law punishes that, the law's wrong. She faced the men. We're not going anywhere. Her words echoed like a battle cry. Caleb's hand tightened. Tommy stood close. The marshal looked at her, maybe impressed. Mrs. Stone, you're making this hard. I'm making you choose between orders and what's right, Sarah said. The men from town got restless. They wanted a quick arrest, not this. Sarah, Caleb said, you don't have to do this. I can go. No, she said, eyes fierce. We're together. The marshal cleared his throat. The law's the law. I have to serve the warrant. Then do it, Sarah said. But you'll have to arrest me and Tommy, too, since we've got nowhere else. Mama, Tommy said, pointing. Sarah looked and gasped. More riders came up the path, but not angry ones. Dr. Henderson from Pine Ridge rode with a red-haired woman, Mary Catherine O'Brien from Caleb's letters. Mary Catherine O'Brien, Sarah whispered. Caleb froze. That's impossible. She's in Denver. Not anymore, Dr. Henderson said, arriving. Mrs. O'Brien's got something to tell the authorities. The marshal turned, cautious. Dr. Henderson, what's this? This lady came to me yesterday, Dr. Henderson said, dismounting. She's got stuff to say about Mr. Stone in Denver. Mary O'Brien got off her horse, confident, older than Sarah expected, with strong beauty. Marshal, she said, voice Irish, I'm Mary Catherine O'Brien. I'm here about William Harrison's death in 1877. Mrs. O'Brien, the marshal said, you gave written testimony. That's just the start, Mary said firmly. I'm here to tell the truth about that night and the man you're arresting. She walked to Caleb. Hello, Caleb. Long time. Mary, Caleb said, voice shaky. Why are you here? Doing what I should have 5 years ago, she said. Fighting for the guy who saved me. She faced the marshal. You're looking at a woman alive because of Caleb Stone. On October 15th, 1877, William Harrison was beating me to death in an alley. If Caleb hadn't stepped in, I'd be dead. We've heard this, Mayor Dawson said. Have you? Mary snapped. Did you hear Harrison beat 3 other women? That his dad, Judge Harrison, hid it? That I tried to testify, and they said my word as a saloon girl didn't matter? Silence. Mary pulled out a folder. I've got statements from those women, medical records, witnesses to Harrison's violence. She held it up. 5 years of proof Caleb killed a bad man to save me. She stepped closer to the marshal. More than that, I'm here because my husband who loves me wants to thank Caleb. We have 3 kids because he saved me. Sarah cried, watching Mary fight for Caleb. Mrs. O'Brien, the marshal said, these are big claims about a judge. Not claims, facts, Mary said. I'll swear to them in court. I should have fought 5 years ago. She looked at Sarah, kind. Mrs. Stone, you've got a good man. He saved me and asked for nothing. Don't let them take him. The marshal was quiet, thinking. The townmen looked unsure. Mr. Stone, he said, with this evidence, I'll recommend dropping charges. The governor needs to review, but you'll get justice. Relief hit Sarah like a wave. Caleb caught her as she wobbled. Really? Tommy asked, hopeful. Papa Caleb's not going to jail? No, son, the marshal said kindly. I don't think so. 6 months later, on a sunny spring morning, Sarah stood on the cabin porch, watching Tommy show his baby sister, Emma Catherine Stone, how to hold a paintbrush. Emma, named for Mary O'Brien and Caleb's grandma, was too little to paint, but loved Tommy's colors on the toys Caleb carved. In Pine Ridge, Caleb's charges were dropped 2 weeks after Mary's testimony. Judge Harrison was removed and the governor apologized. But more than that, they found acceptance. People in Pine Ridge changed their minds about Caleb and Sarah. Kids especially helped. When Caleb started giving out carved toys, beautiful, free ones, people's hearts softened. Now their cabin had visitors. Kids learning to carve, women wanting Caleb's healing tips, men seeking his advice. They'd become the heart of a bigger community. Mama, Tommy called from his easel. Will Mary and her family visit this summer? I hope so, Sarah said, hand on her belly where their second baby grew. I want Emma to meet the lady who helped save Papa Caleb. A sketch hung on the wall, a family portrait of Caleb, Emma, Sarah, and Tommy, all happy. Sarah remembered her prayer a year ago, asking to save Tommy. She didn't know she'd save herself too. Caleb, she called. He looked up from splitting wood, smiling. Yes, love? Come here. I want to tell you something. He walked over, pulling her close. What? Sarah leaned into him, looking at their kids and mountains. I was thinking about prayers, second chances, and how love finds us when we need it. Caleb hugged her tighter. And sometimes the best prayers get answered in ways we don't expect. As the sun set, the Stone family watched from their porch. Tommy talked about painting, Emma babbled in Caleb's arms, and Sarah leaned on her husband, thankful for the month that changed everything. She came to save Tommy, but found a love worth fighting for, a family worth protecting, and a future full of hope. A wolf howled, and Sarah smiled, remembering her desperate knock on Caleb's door. She'd been broken then, scared and alone. Now she knew what her mom meant. Love was all that mattered. Security, reputation, all just noise? What mattered was Caleb's arms, the kids' laughter, and knowing she was home. Her prayer was answered bigger than she dreamed. She asked to save her son. Instead, she found a man who saved them both, Tommy from fever, her from a sad life. As stars came out, Caleb's voice was soft. What you thinking, Mrs. Stone? Just remembering, Sarah said. The night I climbed this mountain thinking I was walking into a monster's house. And instead, Sarah looked at his loving face. I found my guardian angel, a guy who loved us for 2 years waiting for us to need him. Tommy looked up. Did God plan it, Mama? Did he know we belonged together? Sarah thought about the fever, the journey, the month that became forever. I think, she said, sometimes the best plans are the ones we're too scared to make. Sometimes something bigger pushes us to the love we're meant to find. Emma reached for Sarah, who held her, loving her baby's weight. A year ago, she said, I thought my life was done. Now I know it just paused, waiting to start again. Emma grabbed the locket, a symbol of courage. I love you, Sarah said to her family. All of you more than I thought possible. We love you too, Mama, Tommy said, forever. As night fell, the Stone family stayed on the porch, not wanting the perfect day to end. Tomorrow had challenges. Caleb's growing healing work, Sarah's writing for Eastern readers, Tommy's art taking him places. But tonight was just them, together under the sky, surrounded by the peace of choosing love over fear. Come on, Caleb said, helping Sarah up. Let's go in. Tomorrow's another day, and we'll face it together. Together, Sarah said, feeling her ring's warmth. Always. As they walked into their cabin, their home, their proof love could win, Sarah thanked whatever led her here. She climbed to save her son. Instead, she saved herself, finding the most beautiful destination from a desperate journey.